Since the last video, I've been polishing and cleaning up some of these models. All of this code is going to be available on the GitHub of the Zoomcamp, so feel free to check it out. Check the code that generates all of these models. Feel free to reverse engineer it or try to rebuild stuff by yourself. In this video, we are actually going to talk about one of the cool things about DBT, which is documentation. I already showed you this file in a previous video, and I mentioned how it is important to generate sources. What I didn't mention is that it is also very important for some other things, and one of them is documentation. As you can notice here under the row, we already have a little description, but it shouldn't be a surprise to you that you can do exactly the same to every single table. We're gonna keep it a bit uninspired, AI generated, but you can add descriptions to every single table. And it doesn't really stop there. You can potentially do a column stack and add the name of every single column together with indeed some tests, but we're gonna cover tests in a future video. You can also potentially add things like the data type to indicate what the data type should be. You can add meta tags. These allow you to add tags that maybe don't exist, but that might be important for your team. Some examples of meta tags, and this is fully up to you as a developer and your organization to determine what meta tag should be there. PII, to flag personally identifiable information, is quite interesting. Ownership, yes, this one is one that I see quite a lot. So to mark who's the owner of a certain data asset, or who to contact when a column is wrong or something like that. You can also mark importance. I don't know, formatting, whatever it is that you want to do, you could potentially add these values. We could also take, and I believe this vendor ID was lowercase, so let me fix that quite quickly. You can also add descriptions that are more than one line long. And for that, you need a little bit of a YAML magic. You need to add a pipe operator like this one. You need to give it one tab space, and then everything that you want to type, for example, this. Oh, let me put them in the place where they're supposed to be. Now, DBT knows that all of this fits the description, even if it's multiple lines. That's also possible. Now, I'm only showing you how to do this at the source level, but the truth is almost everything in DBT, you can add a YAML to document it. We could do it here for sources. We could do it for our staging models. Remember, there's a little difference between the staging and the sources. We could do it for our marts. We could do it even for our macros and our seeds. I will show you how to do it with macros. It's a very common convention to call them schema.yml, but I also know some people that have one YAML per file. This is also completely fine. It's fully up to you. Some organizations prefer one YAML documenting one model. I think that's kind of nice to avoid having YAMLs that are thousands and thousands of lines of code. But for the sake of this course, we're going to follow the most common convention, which is the schema.yml. Now, for things that are not sources, the syntax is very similar, also starts with version 2. And instead of sources, we indeed have to use the model stack. Once again, we add here under name is actually, let's start with dim vendors. You can add a description. And you can also go with your columns. You can add test, but once again, AI keeps on spoiling. Test is something we're going to cover later. I'm not going to go very exhaustively into filling all of this information out. Once again, if you want to check how a fully documented project works, you can always check it up in the GitHub repo. I make sure to use lots of the official documentation to generate complete documentation here. But what matters at this point is I just want to show you that all of this is possible. Once you're happy with your YAML files, now in an ideal situation, this would be complete. Every single column would be here and documented. And this is a process that you would do with your business stakeholders. So you're just sitting down with, for example, the expert in the data and talk about what all of the columns mean and make sure that the documentation is very complete. For now, we're just gonna leave it incomplete just because that's not the purpose of the training. Now I'm gonna show you what exactly you can do with those YAML files. For that, I'm gonna introduce two DBT commands. One is dbt docs generate. What this does is, it might take a second or two, it generates a JSON file right here. Let me close it. It's here. Yeah, there you go. Now this one might not be too readable because it's just one line, but essentially what this is a JSON representation of everything in your documentation and some other things of your DBT models. And as some of you might be able to infer, all of this is going to be used to serve a website. If you're working in DBT Cloud, dbt docs generate, it's more than enough. There is even a checkbox where you automatically do this. But if you're working with DBT Core, you actually have to both generate and serve the documentation. So we're going to do dbt docs serve. And what this is going to do is it's going to open a website. It automatically opened this website for me. It's currently hosted in localhost port 8080. And if you're working with DBT Core, one of the complexities is you're going to have to find a way to properly host this documentation in case you don't want to serve it every time you want to see it. But this is the DBT documentation. It has here some contents. This is more general. It gives you some information about the database, the models, here, integer types, the actual code that I type here with the Jinja references. And here's the compile code. This is exactly what is passed to the database. You can copy it. This is, being honest, more of a technical documentation. It's not like a perfect replacement for like a pretty data catalog that is nice for people that are not data friendly. But for the people that are building code, this can be very useful because just looking at this gives you an idea of what are the data assets that they have, what are they building, how do they work. And they even have this very neat lineage graph here that tells you, we see my sources here in green, and you see all of the transition that they have done. And here is like the last things. Now I'm already noticing some things that I should definitely fix, but it's quite a neat graph that allows you to analyze if doing a change is gonna break something downstream. You can play and you can filter down this further, just which tags you want to use, which models, and so on. And this is kind of it. It's a very solid documentation. It's once again fully generated with both your DBT models. Some of it is, you don't have to type it as a YAML, and all of the information that you type here in the YAML.